Hello and welcome to Daft Souls. I don't know what an episode number is. Sorry, I'm unprofessional, but I'm joined tonight. 42.
What?
Well, you might as well introduce yourself now. No, I'm going to introduce you, goddammit. It's Philippa War.
Hello.
Of Rock Paper Shotgun. Pleasure to have you here, Pip. And I'm, mainly because you know numbers.
We'll find out if that was right after this is done.
I'm sure it would be, because I think if we had done 42 already, I would have somehow had the temptation to try and make a Hitchhiker's reference. Yeah. But I've done it now, so that's it. And I'm also joined by Joe Scrabbles.
Hello.
Hello, Joe. It's a pleasure to have you back on the podcast.
Thank you.
Hopefully there won't be any ghosts or robots this time.
No, there hasn't been for a few times. There was when we did the live show, which I think was the last time I was on it, possibly. There was what sounded like a gunshot at one point, so I thought that might just be it. That might be the end of the podcast.
That was the ghost being executed.
That was it, yeah. We finally exercised it.
We trapped him there. We basically enticed the ghost in, thinking it was going to be able to destroy the podcast, but it was just a trap. That's the only reason we did a live one is because Nottingham is notoriously an extremely haunted place.
The whole back row were Ghostbusters.
Oh, yeah.
It was cool.
We saw them coming. Anyway, enough about ghosts that are not real. Let's talk about something that is real.
Are video games real?
Our love for video games.
Fair enough.
Nothing more real than that, right?
It's the realist.
So I'll kick it off really briefly, right? Because I haven't been playing much. I've been playing a tiny, tiny bit of, and we're talking wafers here, of The Witcher 3.
Oh, yeah.
A game which you might have heard of. A lot of people talking about it at the moment. It's got good graphics.
The what 3?
Witcher. Witcher? Aye. It seems good. It seems good. I'll briefly tell you about the things I like about it. No spoilers, obviously, because I've only played it for about half an hour and nothing's happened. I really like the way they've made it so that when you have a quest that has multiple things you can do, they've made it so you can click in the right stick.
Yes.
To cycle between them.
That is really nice. So, and when you get a new quest, you can click it and it switches to that new quest instead of you having to go into your quest log to change it all. All these tiny little streamlined things that they're doing really well.
Haven't we been doing this for years?
Absolutely, that's the question.
What?
Yes.
They did everything.
There was something else that I spotted that made me go, oh, god damn it, I can't remember what it is.
I also love the fact that when you're following an NPC...
That's it, that's the one.
If you basically start sprinting or getting your horse to go quickly, they do it exactly the same time. So even if you're following somebody, it's that idea that you don't have to wait for them.
Just running around in circles around them,
that's
hassling them.
That's the idea. There's something actually intelligent enough about the NPCs to go, that guy's running, I should probably keep up with him. Instead of the hero of the world just striding off into the wilderness without them.
I now don't want to play the game any more than I did before, but I want all developers of RPGs to play the game.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is I was a bit concerned about The Witcher 3, primarily because they'd had a lot of experience with kind of rich RPGs, but going into an open world, it's a very different kettle of fish. And I was a bit concerned that they might kind of not be very good at it, but so far, and it's very brief, I've been really impressed with the way they do things. There's some really nice feedback on the minimap, things like if there's some hidden treasure in a little area, it'll have a little radius on the map to show you that there's something there, but then nothing too in your face. It's just, then you have to look around and be like, oh well, what is this, where is something?
Well, it's the same thing that Dragon Age Inquisition did really well. It was just there's a thing in the area, you've got a scanning function, like Geralt's detective mode thing, whatever it's called, is a more interesting device than just clicking a stick and watching radars come out of you like in Dragon Age, but it's the same idea that it kind of directs you to a place and then just lets you find it within an area, which is quite nice. And I love
the way they've made it so that now the Witcher vision, the Batman detective mode basically, it kind of does stuff to your vision that means it's not very useful to walk around in.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
It means
all the edges sort of flare out like fisheye lens, don't they?
It basically does that. It's not comfortable walking around in it, so it doesn't encourage you to just play the entire game with infrared mode on, basically.
The interesting thing to me, I played 2 or 3 hours, I think, and so far you kind of look at it and realise, well, they've made an open world game. They've shifted into that sort of, non-linear thing, but the intelligent way they've gone about it is there's no ambient events. There's no GTA Red Dead running into a thing happening over and over again. It's just their quests, which means every quest feels sort of rich and unique, but they've just peppered the whole world with them. So it feels like you're running into things, but it's all scripted. It's all there based on, a designer and a writer going, this is how it's going to work. So there's never any breakages, and it still has that sort of richness of story that the old games had. So it doesn't fit into the kind of regular open world design as it is now. It's not got like eagles swooping down on you like Far Cry and ruining everything just because you're in an area. Like, so yeah, it's clever.
That's it. I'm really impressed by it. I was worried that they kind of like stumble a little bit on the open world stuff, but yeah, even stuff like just being able to click to cycle through, because The Witcher does that a lot. The idea of like, well, here's what you got to do, and then it will often present you with like 2 or 3 angles on how you want to approach this. And what I always like about it is sometimes, and I'll probably do this again, sometimes approaching one angle, then just without warning, you just cut off another angle and being like, oh, no, that can't happen because of this. But just taking away one step from having to like go into the bloody journal. It's just, I mean, the thing is, I guess it works as a kind of a, I don't know what the word is, but it works kind of in the setting of RPGs, this idea of being like, I must check my tome of lore to find out more information about what I have to do or what I am doing, or as if you're keeping a journal. But in the modern world,
you'd have it out all the time. It would basically be like your smartphone, just always in your pocket, ready for you to check it because you go to it so much.
That's exactly it. It's the fact that actually now it's one of these things of the crossover of it doesn't make sense in a world where we as humans who play the games use smartphones. Like the idea that we'd still have to, and that's why it kind of always feels like a pain and just taking you out of things to have to look through things. And it seems quite keen to keep you in the world and keep you going around. Even the fact that The Witcher 2 had quite a stylish inventory system, but it was a fucker to use.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it might have been alright on mouse and keyboard, but I was playing on PC with a 360 pad, as is my want. And you could just never tell what you were doing.
You decadent bastard.
It's right there. I can see it now.
Oh no, I don't use it anymore. Now I use the PlayStation 4 controller with third-party drivers.
And that's on the floor as a symbolic gesture.
As is my desire. I'm a changed man. Decadence is my middle name. Of Dreadwood. But yeah, it was just like you didn't know where your cursor was half the time. The amount of times when I was playing The Witcher 2, and admittedly I only played for about 8 hours because I kind of like I got a bit bored. The first act was really strong, but afterwards it was a bit like, it was alright, but it was like, oh, I can't be bothered with this now. It like the amount of times I'd like unequip my sword, like when I was supposed to be doing something completely different. Like, oh, you're just taking your trousers off again. Like, oh, what? Really? Like, I was meant to be looking at other trousers or something, and now it's got this really boring inventory that's just like very simple grid, very simple information. It's actually like, at first I looked at it and thought, this is rubbish. But now I'm like, actually after looking at it again, I'm like, no, this is great.
Well, it's totally legible. It's got really, it's got that sort of, it's like Pokemon. It's got different sections of your backpack for different stuff. Like, it's got that sort of like
and
compartments idea.
It did that, but it did that in The Witcher 2, where rather than having, now it has one static horizontal bar which you use the triggers to just jump between. In The Witcher 2 it had like 2 bars, and I think it was like, oh, I don't know, it was just a mess. Whereas it's really simple, really clean, and it's like, yeah, I can see myself not getting really frustrated messing about in this. But crucially, it seems keen to keep you away from it.
What we're saying is The Witcher 3 has the best UI, and that's its major selling point.
I'm impressed by it.
Like, a really sexy menu.
Because the thing is, it's got a sexy men.
It's got a sexy men too.
But then it's got sexy menus.
It's just philosophically intact. Everything's on one line. Men, menus, everything's good looking. It works. It just works.
I wasn't expecting that. That's the thing. I was expecting it to be this flashy, sexy game with cool graphics and cool effects. But I also thought, I wonder if they'll mess up a lot of the basic stuff. But no, seems really good. Although I'm playing it on PC, which meant I had that classic thing with PC of loading it up, looking at it, thinking, I bet this can be a bit prettier, and then closing it down, making it a bit prettier, loading it up, and then going, it doesn't quite run well though, and then going back and forth until I found a kind of medium of being like, all right, well, it runs well and it looks nice. But I've been thinking about this a lot today. I kind of feel like PC graphics are like the ultimate distillation of the pointlessness of wanting, and the fact that it's like everyone wants things in life. They want more of things, It's just like, and even though I always want it to look prettier than it does, even though as soon as I make it look prettier, I think, actually, no, it's not quite right. And I go back, and I kind of wonder if all the people who are furious that the game as it was pitched in trailers and stuff, it's maybe just that's what happens when you... For me, it's not a problem because I am held back by my own limitations in terms of what I own, like in terms of my computer. So I cannot attain the best settings. I can't put it on super ultra 4K because it just won't run very well. But then people who can, they still want more. And there'll always be something more that they wanted. Like, it doesn't look as good as it could. But it just seems so pointless because it changes constantly. We're always looking at the next game, always looks like better than the stuff before. And it never ends. It's been going on since, like, Doom and Quake, of people being, oh, it's just so much better, but you need to have this computer. It just makes me really sad.
I don't get it, because I think unless it's actually changing the colours, or I don't see it so easily. And so, you know, I look at the arguments or the discussions or the people freaking out in comment sections about all of this stuff, and I'm just like, I don't see the difference. I mean, I saw the difference in, you know, the when they did that side-by-side comparison, like now, a year ago, 2 years ago, because I was like, well, the wood's yellow.
Well, that's exactly what I was about to say. Like, in The Witcher 3's case, it literally did change colour. Like, it was really grey before, and now it looks nice.
But beyond that, I'm just kind of like, I mean, if it's physically adding more stuff, then maybe, and if that stuff... I don't know if it augments it to the point where I notice, but yeah, like, so much of it I just don't notice, and therefore I look at the arguments and they're just incomprehensible to me, because it's people just arguing about things that I don't think you can see without a magnifying glass, but they think they can, or they actually can, and I don't get it.
It just feels like, I don't know, it just feels like a really, and that's why I think people get so angry about it, it's just like a really futile chasing for perfection that you can never have. It's like, I just sort of, I look at this and I go, and I'm a bit guilty of it as well. You know, I sit here tweaking back and forth until I realised. I was like, Matt, you will never be happy. Like, you will always either be going, oh, this doesn't run quite smoothly enough, or going, oh, it doesn't look quite nice enough. Like, and
it's
I will
the problem
never
of having too many options. It really is. And like, yeah, that is... because I found it with, I think it was the Talos principle, because that lets you actually change the colour palette of the game in one of the menus. And so that was stuff that I could tell. And then it was just like freaking out over an Instagram filter almost. I'm just like, what have I become? This is just so awful. But, you know, when I had a console, I was pretty much just happy to play with what was given. But then as soon as options are involved, I just sort of get a bit overwhelmed by choice and spend all of my time doing that. It's like, you know, when you spend 1 million hours in character creation and by the time you're done, the enthusiasm for the game's gone. You know, it's that feeling.
That's what I was going to ask. Is it fair to say that you've spent more time tweaking the graphics on The Witcher than you have playing it?
Oh, absolutely.
That's ridiculous.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's absolutely ridiculous.
I mean, that's not entirely down to weird perfectionism, to be honest. That was like, I was actually having like a weird glitch.
Oh, okay.
That was really off-putting. The mountains were flashing, and it was like...
Whoa, it's trippy.
Yeah, it was kind of a bit much. But it was one of those funny things, actually, that I was like, I spent a little while trying to just test everything to see if I get it to work. And then thought to myself, oh, look, you're just going to have to not play it until they patch it. And then literally like 10 minutes later, it's like, we've made a patch. And I was like,
changed
wow.
600 things.
And to be fair to CD Projekt, it's amazing how quickly they're fixing stuff.
Yeah.
Most people would be like, well, maybe try in a week. Like,
yeah, I mean, to the extent where they did that really open and quite nice interview with Eurogamer today, where they were just like, yeah, we did downgrade it because it didn't work.
It didn't work,
the game didn't work. And you're just like, yeah, fair enough. I'm cool with that.
It's the same with From Software and when they made Dark Souls 2.
Yeah.
They were like, yeah, I mean, those guys are really bad at coding games sometimes as well. Like, you know, like all the problems with Blighttown that they just, in the end, for the PC version, they were just like, yeah, we can't fix it. Sorry. And then like some other coders fixed it for them and they were like, oh, nice one. Yeah.
Oh, cheers, dudes.
You're really good. But, you know, they're notoriously not good at optimization. And so the fact that they couldn't get that game running with the original engine did not surprise me at all. It was just like, guys, we've got to take all the graphics out. It's just not running. But I don't know. It just makes me like confused because it is a gorgeous game, and I do wonder if it's in the same way that I'm trapped in this loop of just tweaking and never being quite happy about it. That if you have got a computer that you can just whack it on maximum everything, then that kind of, and I'm where this is like all a bit existential really. But I kind of wonder if it's that problem doesn't go away. You just aim it at something else. You don't go, oh, maybe I could tweak it. You go, well, maybe it could have been better than this. Like,
well, that's where like graphics mods come from. This is why people are still modding Skyrim to look nicer.
Don't get on at me about Skyrim, because I can't play Skyrim anymore because of the modding stuff, because now I can't find a mod that makes the wind move the trees quite right, so the whole world is unplayable. I won't log in, it's broken to me.
Wow.
Really?
Like every time I go into that world, knowing that now it's on a format where I could in theory fix things that I don't quite like, everything is looked at with a weird critical eye rather than just I'm going to come and enjoy the story. It's literally, that tree looks freaky now. What have I done? How do I undo it? How do I get a new thing in to fix it better?
I've never been more glad to have an expensive desktop PC that does not work at home. Like, just so I'm away from this. It terrifies me.
And actually, I partly just think maybe I should just need to stick to, because I mean the thing is, I didn't buy my PC for gaming. Really, it runs games well because it's an editing PC. But I didn't buy it for that. But I kind of think like there is something wonderful about the fact that I am never, when I'm playing a game on a console, it is the finite thing.
Yeah.
That is what it is. That's how it looks. I don't spend hours playing Destiny going, does that look a bit rough on the edges of that? Like maybe I could go into the settings somewhere and tweak that so it's a bit like, it's just, that's what it is. And it just means I don't have to think about that. Because it's just this weird thing, and it is so popular within gaming culture now, this sort of, and it's not, lots of the things that surround gaming culture are in themselves a bit of a game, and they're a bit like there's a game mechanic to it, but I don't think there's anything about this process, this perfectionist back and forth process of tweaking, that is anything like a game. I think it's just a horrible, horrible thing that taps into our human brains in a way that just isn't healthy.
Just sounds like the pursuit of the meta in a MOBA to me. That's the thing that's I've never understood, is people searching for the game above the game, trying to perfect it.
No, but that exists and is pleasurable. The other thing
is
it just
pleasurable?
me being broken.
I don't get
yes.
it.
I like getting into that stuff.
I can't deal with it.
But I just find I'm sad whenever I had to deal with these things. Like when I had the flashing mountains this morning, I went, okay, well, I've got to start Googling. And as soon as you start Googling about graphics cards, you just end up falling down these rabbit holes of tedium of people just arguing about numbers, and it's just like, I don't want to think that these people exist.
That I may be one of them.
I may be one of them. All right.
I hate it when something is broken and I'm trying to fix it and trying to work it out and go back and forth before the game is actually palatable and playable. But when it's me just in a, zoned out, actually just tweaking stuff and enjoying the process of going back and forth, trying to get it to what I want, then that's actually... I think there's something to be said for that, just because I enjoy that process, like I enjoy character creation sometimes, just for the pleasure of
more cosmetic stuff
creation.
is fine. Like, I get that. Like, it's wanting things to be, And I just think in terms of the quality thing, maybe it's just a really rubbish blokey thing. Maybe this is the first symptom of the dad virus, that now I'm like, I want it to be the best. I found myself genuinely going, well, you did only buy a GTX 970 about a month ago, but maybe you could buy another one and plug them in together. It's like, what is wrong with you? What is wrong with you?
It's what you're getting in absence of a shed.
I know, right?
I like the idea that in 20 years' time, people are just going to buy vintage copies of The Witcher 3 and just tweak them up like old cars.
But
I've got this running on the older.
I've gone a bit weird about that as well, because I bought this old Monet game, this point-and-click adventure that's basically built for Windows 95. It's one of those old wanna do kind of games, and you are basically trying to stop the orangery from being blown up, I think, while trying to meet up with Monet.
So it's based on the artist's life.
There's this amazing bit in the
Assassin's
insert.
Creed.
There's this brilliant bit in the insert where it's basically well, this is essentially historically accurate. And you're just this is amazing. So yeah, you're this architect rather, who's just he's looking for Mr. Monet, and everybody in Normandy seems to have a West Country accent, and it's just okay, fine. But I spent so long desperately trying to get this to work, to even run on my PC, because backwards compatibility mode wasn't working, and had to make an image of the disc and send it to Alex so that he could tell me how to make it work without installing a virtual drive and all of that kind of fun. And then I was going to stream it, but it won't work with streaming, and that's the thing that I managed to muck up my monitor so badly. It was in the wrong resolution, it was on the wrong screen, I'd managed to completely balls the entire thing up. It was on 16-bit colour mode at one point.
People always look at me funny when I say this, as if nah, you're wrong, but System Shock 2 broke a monitor of mine many years ago. We tried to install System Shock 2 on slightly newer computers, so my brother could play it. Me and my brother could play it like co-op, like.
All right.
And like his monitor just fried. It was like it was switched on, but all the colors were wrong, and it was all like just messed up. And we were like, oh, it must be the graphics card's broken. Then we plugged it into other computers, and it was the same. It just broke. It broke a monitor. Shodan broke
sounds
it.
like something that would happen in System Shock.
It was Shodan. I've only just realised it was Shodan. I've got to call my brother. He's in danger. But anyway, just talk a lot about not talking about The Witcher 3 because I haven't played it. But apart from UI, which is good. Monet, you got anything else to say about Monet? This fascinating orange explosion game?
Well, I've got it working, but I couldn't get it streaming, so I haven't played it yet, which is really dumb. But I did play all of the sound files to myself and just sort
you can review it based on that, right?
my appetite. So, well, no, I'll come back and I will properly review it once I've played it, and then I will send you some of the sound files to use then.
To add richness to my review.
Welcome to Normandy, things like that. It's
Really?
amazing.
I've
And a woman shrieking, "Hot chestnuts!"
That's my favourite
There you
thing.
go.
I've gotten obsessed with this website called Audio Atrocities, which hasn't been updated, I don't think, for about 5 years. But it's just this guy who ripped sound like voice clips from old games and just has this not large but sizable list of games with the worst voice acting, and it's fascinating just listening to hundreds of voice clips from like Dynasty Warriors. The best ones are Martian Gothic Unification, which is like some PS1 Resident Evil ripoff, with a protagonist who is constantly talking about like watching his friends get killed, but in the most bored voice, as if he's like halfway across another room with this massive echo. None of it makes any sense. It's incredible. It's just the best website. You have to go.
That sounds good. What was it again?
Audio Atrocities.
Audio Atrocities.
So good. Just
does
so
sound
entertaining.
I just love a woman shrieking hot acorns.
Chestnuts.
Hot chestnuts, yeah. It's not got that yet.
A woman shrieking hot chestnuts. If I was an OK
I'll
Cupid,
send you that,
that'd be on my... I don't even know how OK Cupid works, so I can't make a joke about it.
I actually uploaded it to my Google Drive just so that I could share it
Hot
as and when.
chestnuts.
Yeah, just a woman shrieking about her hot chestnuts. So
I've got a few Dynasty Warriors clips bookmarked now, just to come back to them. Just hear Zhang Jiao shouting at me. It's nice. Makes me feel comfortable.
Lu Bu's coming again.
He's actually in the grand pantheon of Dynasty Warriors voice actors. Lu Bu's all right. He's a bit gruff.
Well,
he
you
sounds
would've
like
thought,
Geralt,
yeah.
basically.
Because he's like, he'd have to be, because he's in it.
Because he's in it all the time.
Fucking...
It's all the minor characters who are the stock models, dudes who are like, "Oh, my magic's for you." He's like, "What?" That's the best. Those guys are wicked.
That was a really good impression.
I've wanted to make. I'm trying to find. There's a very specific sound in Dynasty Warriors. Whenever you meet a character, it plays this like chime. And I'm trying to find it by itself, isolated, so I can just record my own Dynasty Warriors intros. But it's impossible to find. I can't do
Call it Dynasty Warriors.
Warriors. Yeah, this sounds like something Tecmo Koei would do.
Yeah,
They've spun it off in any number of ways.
How much would it cost to franchise it out to Joe Scrabbles? They've done Nintendo one, haven't they?
Exactly.
You just get to collect an army of hundreds of different Joes that you can play.
Oh my god.
So I just said the most exciting thing you've ever heard.
Just me in a
Open the Pandora's
sombrero, me in another hat. I don't know. It sounds great.
This would be going back to like the N64 era of unlockable characters.
Yes.
When we were satisfied, we just like, oh, it's that guy, but in a red jumper.
Oh yeah.
That was worth the 6 hours.
I used to think the idea of Reptile in the Mortal Kombat 2. Was it in Mortal Kombat 2 where he appeared and he was just green? It was just a green one. I thought that was the most exciting thing
Yeah, I know,
in
right?
the world. It was like,
Oh my god.
what the fuck is this? It's unbelievable.
First they had yellow, then they had blue. Now it's a combination of yellow and blue.
That's it. It's as simple as that. They just ran out. Like, oh my god. Unbelievable.
They ran out real fast as well.
Love those guys.
So Joe, what have you been playing lately?
I've been playing another game with a kind of big intersection between cosmic end of the world stuff and personal things and moral decisions, which is Life is Strange episode 3. It's fucking amazing.
You see, I keep
I'm about
hearing
20
this.
minutes into it.
I'm not going to spoil anything, but like, well, put it this way: my first review of my episode 1 review ended up, I think, accidentally being the first review in the world, and it was lukewarm to chilled. And I got I've been told that I've been sort of blacklisted by Square Enix, maybe.
Oh.
But And after that, I was then ambushed by a PR who had showed me the game, who asked me to explain my problems with the game, which is fine. He was just being friendly. He wasn't being mean or anything. He just wanted to chat.
I was ambushed. I was put in
beaten
the
up
back of a car.
I was imagining someone
Indoctrinated.
leaping out from behind shrubbery.
Just sort of pub conversation. But I was sitting down and he was standing up, which made it feel imposing.
It's been intense.
But he sort of spoke to me about the game, and I explained all my problems with it, and I was like, I think it could be really good. Like, I think it's got amazing potential. I just didn't like the first episode. And then he was like, oh, by the way, let me introduce this guy. He's one of the developers on the game. And this guy, this really sad-looking Frenchman, was just standing there. And I was like, you know, like, I think it could be great. And he's like, I really hope so we can make it good for you later. And they have. They've totally made good. The third episode is like one of the biggest turnarounds, in my opinion, of a game that I've had for years. Like, just so confident, so different to everything else out there. Like, really happy.
Really excited now. Can we just wrap this up and I can go home and play it?
Let's do it.
Because I've heard, I actually haven't got around to playing it yet.
Yeah.
Because I've got more games than Jesus.
Really?
And yeah.
So that guy's rich.
I know, he had all of the games.
His uncle works for Nintendo.
I know, right? That's how he did all that magic.
Yeah.
Apparently he even had one of those disc drives for the N64.
I know. Who had that?
I'm not even sure they were real. But anyway, I heard so much about it. We've had on here on the podcast. We've had Jim on here talking about it a lot. And you know, he's got good taste. I mean, everyone on this podcast has good taste, but
straight up,
a lot of people talking about the game with real reverence.
Yeah.
And now I'm feeling like, oh god, maybe I just need to catch up on this.
Well, it might almost be worth waiting. I think because they're trying to do the one episode a month.
It's like 5 episodes.
Yeah,
isn't
it's
it?
5 episodes. It might
And
be
we're
worth
on
waiting till
3.
the end, because either it will nosedive hard, or it will be like one of the games of the year.
The thing is, though, I quite like the episodic nature. So I would say, like,
That's
you
fair.
know, the highs of it, you know, when it hits a stride and is awesome, like, you know, you're saying with this one, like, I kind of I wouldn't want to wait for the next 2 in case they nosedive, because it's like, I want to experience the bit where you think it's going to be awesome forever, you know?
That's fair. Like, there is the ending to this one has never made me want the next episode so much, because it's like out of nowhere everything changes. And like, just to explain, like, it starts off, people know what Life is Strange is, but like this episode like carries on directly from the last one, where a very big terrible thing sort of occurs.
Might or might not occur.
Well, yeah, but either way, the sort of the
fallout
principal event is there, and this whole episode sort of takes place in the sort of the glow of that event. Everyone is talking about it all the time, and you are central to it. So whatever you've done is being sort of parroted back at you the whole time. And there are these moments where it's like your character is sort of trying to escape from the story by just stopping and doing normal teenage things. Like, I don't want to give them away, but like, there are these moments in other episodes where you can just sit down on a bench and her internal monologue plays out for a few minutes, and it's really pleasant. In this one, that's sort of built into the fabric of the story, where like Max will stop and just have a chat and think to herself for a while, and then the story carries on. And it's just, I've never played a game where it's just happy to go, no, you're just going to listen to her for a while and just hear what she has to say, and that will sort of colour how you think about everything else that's going on for this person. It's amazing. Like, just so filmic, but in a way that feeds into the kind of systems that are at work, because you're obviously having to make decisions for her all the time.
It sounds like the main thing for me is that, and we've talked about this many times already, but Telltale have kind of like, they've done the same trick again, and this is just like, it's a different thing. Like, and that in itself, the fact that it's good is great, but it's like, because I started playing the Game of Thrones Telltale thing. I played episode 1, really enjoyed it, and I've got, you know, a pass for the whole thing. I just haven't, for whatever reason, I haven't gone back and played any of the other ones yet. It sort of didn't grab me enough in the same way that maybe like The Walking Dead did.
Well, I'm really enjoying their Borderlands one, because that's the first time I feel like they've tried to change how you approach decisions, because in Borderlands there are no morals, really.
Yeah.
So you're never being forced to go, there's never even the implication of like, here's a good thing, here's a bad thing. It's just, what are you going to do in this situation? You are playing, and because you're playing 2 different characters, you're not playing you as well. It kind of forces you to separate how you roleplay.
I'm really glad we've seen more, because I've banged on about this for many years now, because it was the Game of Thrones RPG, the crap one years ago.
You loved that?
I did. I loved it
loved
because
the idea,
it had lots of amazing ideas, And because I think it was Alec Meir for RPS who actually summed it up best when he said, like, it has this weird thing of the actors in the game halfway through suddenly realising that actually maybe the script is good. And so the start is terrible, and then about halfway in, suddenly the two main characters, they stop phoning in the lines and they start reading lines properly, and suddenly you get this really good, really satisfying story hidden in a really shit game. But also I just love the fact that it had that thing of being like you're controlling two characters.
Yeah.
So it stopped you just going into autopilot going, I guess I'll just do the good thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you actually have to think about it and be like, well, no, like which of these characters is going to take the lead on this? And
well, yeah, and there are moments where you're sort of playing your own characters off against each other. It's like when, as a kid, like if you were by yourself playing a board game against yourself or something.
Yeah.
It's doing that thing where it's like, which one of me is going to win?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
It's really nice.
It's really nice. And I've seen quite a few games do that in the past few years. I'm really glad that because when I played it in the Game of Thrones RPG, I kind of thought, this is an awesome idea, but it's a crap game. Hardly anyone will play this. And I was really worried that this idea might just get lost, like, in the bogs. But it seems like it has actually been seen by other people and used, which makes me pleased. So would you really recommend getting involved at this point? I mean, I think the problem is they will do, like, a final... If it is good, then it's done. Yeah, it's this thing I can't decide. It's like,
going
do I
to be
want to
bundled, but yeah...
Do I want to be involved in the glow of it as it's happening, or...?
Yeah,
I'm enjoying it like that way because it means that I get to talk to Adam and talk to Alice about it and sort of, compare our decisions and stuff and like who we, how we directed the character through the events and like why as well, because like I think Adam's playing it with his girlfriend, and so they're sort of doing it like a joint decision making thing, and it's interesting hearing about just even the arguments that they've had about different aspects and like choices that they've made and stuff like that. The one thing I would say is I was a lot more enthused about the first episode, or at least like tentatively excited, and for me that was because it's a type of fiction that games haven't really dealt with, and that's it's really weird. The thing that I keep saying is that it reminds me of a lot of sort of teen fiction, and by that I mean fiction that teenagers write themselves, the stuff that was bundled on fan fiction sites but as the original fiction, like when they write their sort of like their first story about what happens at school and with enemy characters or like and some of it's just so sort of literarily oversaturated or like weirdly overplayed or sort of with in-jokes or but it's also sincere and sort of not self-consciously so, and and so it's this thing that I remember fondly reading like so many of those, and they're not amazing stories exactly, but they're just really heartfelt and people sort of like feeling their way in writing, and there was a lot of that I was really fond of in the first episode, and to sort of see that genre almost sort of crop up again in games was really encouraging to me, because I kind of you just see so much of the same stuff come round again and again and again, and just to sort of even see something sort of poke its head up and go, hi, we're going to try this instead. That was awesome.
To me, I guess, I don't know. I don't have the attachment to that type of fiction, but to me, there was something odd about the idea of like sort of mid-30s Frenchmen writing 17, 18-year-old dialogue and like peppering it with this language that feels like I'm far enough away from that age for it to feel alien, so I could never get, and maybe that's unfair, but I could never get it out of my head that these
there
are
were
like
a whole bunch of like super clunky like movie references.
Oh, the references are just the worst.
But I would say that like that does feel super sort of awkward and foreign, and oh god, why is this dialogue so cringeworthy right now? But on the flip side, it is something that also happened in those other stories that I was mentioning, because it was people sort of self-consciously trying to insert themselves into the stories and like align themselves with things that they thought were cool, even though they were just so sort of awkwardly inserted into the plot. And like people sort of say, oh yeah, I was sat there once watching, like Faster Pussycat Killer, and you're just like, oh god.
There was, the first episode has a fetch quest in which you go and get a flash drive full of cool pirated films that people then have a chat about, which was the point at which I was like, no, fuck you. that's bullshit. And then during that scene, someone drives up in a car with a license plate that says Twin Peaks. And you're just like, no.
This does not fly.
Yeah.
This does not fly.
But then, like, the second episode and third episode start kind of casually introducing that stuff in... Well, firstly, you're sort of inured to it at that point, so that's quite nice. You kind of, once you buy into that world...
Yeah.
Well, that's just the thing. I really didn't play much of what's it called? The game they came out with, come out with.
Oh, Remember Me.
Remember Me. I didn't play much of Remember Me, but I think this would be the same thing I'd have to kind of grit my teeth through. And actually, a lot of people have since said to me that Remember Me did actually have like some good stuff going for it if you stuck with it. But frankly, just the knowing like crap references and nods and puns just drove me mental. The way it was like, seems to be the sort of game that was constantly just turning to you and going, can you see what I've done there? Did you get that? And it's like, of course I got that. It's the most obvious reference in the world. Like, it sort of had this constant posturing as if to go, we're quite clever, aren't we? And it's like, you're not clever. Like, this is not clever.
But this is, and I don't know if I didn't play Remember Me, but I don't know if this is what people liked about that. The things that are starting to happen in episodes 2 and 3 is it's introducing references, but more in sort of how like shots are constructed. Like, there are these montage scenes at the ends of episode 1 and 2 of all the different characters, and it's so consciously drawn from the end of Donnie Darko. You know, that scene where it goes through every single person reacting to the events of the film in their room. And it's so drawn from that. But because they don't go... Because there's not like a sign on someone's wall that says Donnie Darko, you go, that's really neat. It's riffing on the culture it's drawing out of.
Yeah.
But those moments where it's just like, here is a list of names.
I think also because it seems like, from everything I've heard, it seems like as a game, it allows itself to be cheesy. It allows itself to know that it's drawing from cheesy roots. Whereas I found like Remember Me sort of was trying to have that kind of. It might have been supposed to be delivered in a way that was tongue in cheek, but the delivery, very much from the voice acting and stuff, like very much gave a sense of a game that was trying to be taking itself quite seriously, and that's why it was like kind of had some incredible like now the hunter becomes the hunted and all this, and it was like, is this a joke? I don't think it is. Like, whereas I'm much more open to having this kind of cheesy, occasionally cruddy stuff because it is supposed to be that kind of thing.
I think I like, because the way that I took that stuff or decided consciously to take that stuff to stop myself cringing was because it is something that I remembered people doing when I was a teenager, of that sort of posturing or that, like, you know, really awkward when you look back on it, but sort of thinking that you were trying to find your way and aligning yourself with particular things.
Hey guys, I've just been listening to Rage Against the Machine.
Like, that's fair. I did like draw like band names of bands. Like, maybe I'd listen to one song and then I'd draw their name across like my pencil case and stuff. So I know
you knew
there
how
is
to
that
do
feeling.
the logo better than you knew their back catalogue.
That's exactly it.
But and then
So
the thing is, there's also it does some interesting things in that it presents itself. It feels almost timeless. I mean, there is a lot of like, hey, smartphones and you know, whatever else, but the references tend to be a bit further back in terms of pop culture, and also like the setting is kind of, you know, just sort of feels like generic, you know, high school or generic college or, you know, generic, you know, diner and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And so it feels curiously outside time, which is interesting given the themes anyway. And also it sort of taps into the fondness at the moment for sort of instant nostalgia, because the whole thing looks like you've shot it through an Instagram lens or an Instagram filter rather, and there's like, you know, really
otherwise known as an old camera.
really pretty birds like everywhere and
sorry, I was having this conversation with my girlfriend the other day about like, oh god, people like are gonna forget that cameras used to look like that, and everyone's just gonna go, oh, it looks like Instagram. And it's like, no, it looks like an old camera.
What's awesome is that I can actually do that stuff with my old film cameras, and I'm just sat there like, hey, wait, what? Why? But it's so much cheaper to do it.
Oh no, I know, absolutely. But I just love that it will happen. That people will not know that.
Yeah.
People will just go, oh, it's Instagram.
Well, that's kind of part of the story almost, because she's like a photography major who only uses a Polaroid camera.
How much money must she have for that?
Firstly, that's expensive. Secondly, you are not making the most of your photography degree if that's all you're doing with it.
I'm just going to get a really crap grade.
There's also something really weird about
You don't even have to use a darkroom. No. What is she doing?
No idea.
I mean, I did like an AS level in photography, not even an A level. And if I'd come in with a Polaroid every week, they'd be like, "Yeah, it's very fun. That was fun for that project, Matt. But now you're going to use a camera."
Yeah.
Yeah. It's strange because there's also the thing of like she's taking photos that then you're looking through the filter of the game onto it. So it's like, I think it was. It's Chris Donlan. It's always fucking Chris Donlan writing good things. He did a really nice piece about the sort of presentation of Life is Strange. I think it was today even, or at least this week at some point. And he talked about how actual photographs in the game are all like really bad paint drawings. Like,
yes, they really
which
are.
Is really,
I was thinking about that
There's
today.
something really strange about that, which is quite nice. And also he wrote about the setting in the same way that...
Oh, that's so annoying, because I stockpiled a bunch of screen grabs so that I could write something about this.
But no, because your out of time thing is not what he mentioned. He wrote that it feels like Europeans trying to create the archetypal American place. So his is sort of out of location, whereas yours is out of time. So it's totally cool, right? Your article. But yeah, it does have this mess of like sort of strange things. I can't tell whether they're accidents. Like it might be that a lot of this is totally unintentional. But it just comes out really nicely.
The whole Polaroid camera thing's really turned me around. I'm not sure. I think we're probably mad.
It is interesting.
I don't like the main character particularly.
It's the only game where I've ever walked around, and you know in adventure games you click on everything because you want to hear them say. It's the only game where the more I click on stuff, the less I like the character for talking. Because you're just like, shut up.
She is so annoying. I like her friend better, far better.
How could you have done that though for teenagers though? Because all teenagers are fundamentally dislikable people.
Yeah, her friend.
You don't realise that
really
until you're an
cool,
adult.
though.
She is pretty cool.
Oh right.
Actually, a nice thing about episode 3 is it seems like they've started to realise that Max is quite annoying because there are a couple of like digs at her. There's it's not like this is no spoiler, and it's like just a tiny little piece of the sort of something you might stumble across. There's a bit where you can find her sort of student file, and for some reason, have you seen
that was just before I left today.
Okay.
But
so there's like these school files where weirdly the school have like little dossiers on all their students with like a paragraph about each of them.
Dark.
And her one like literally says everyone says she's really nosy, which is clearly a reference to the fact that she's constantly just rooting through people's stuff all the time just to see what they're about. There's a bit in the first episode where you can just root in someone's bin and pick up their pregnancy test.
Yeah.
You're just like,
whoa,
Jesus, Max.
Yeah, or you sort of go through like
cool.
letters from their family, and you're just like, really?
That's not cool.
There's one girl's bin in the dormitories that has had the same crumpled up sort of sad love letter in it from episodes 1 to 3, and I'm getting increasingly angry at the girl whose room it is because I'm like, clean out your bin. Like, it's only been 3 days in game time, but for me this is months. That's bullshit. That's really irritating.
Oh, when you were talking about feedback about the character being annoying, I thought it was going to be like kind of the Walking Dead style, you know, they will remember this just popping up like, you are a dick.
Fuck off.
Everybody still remembers that you are a dick. Okay, let's do some questions. But that sounds interesting. I like it when people come and tell me about games that I haven't played. It's exciting. And actually, stuff I'll talk about in the future, because I barely played The Witcher 3, so I'll definitely be talking about The Witcher 3 as soon as I've played more of it than I have messing around with the bloody sliders and settings. Also, like, I've just got House of the Wolves, which...
Yes. You should play that with me sometime.
I'd love to. I will do. I've basically just been really busy trying to do other stuff. But
It's
I've got
good.
it.
It's really good.
Yeah, it seems really good. Everything on paper seems like, you know, Bungie have finally caught up with the wave of criticism that hit at launch of the game.
Yeah, hot stuff, and I finally got a Galahorn. I mean, like, I never fell off or fell out of love with Destiny, so, like, the criticism I kind of wasn't bothered about, and it wasn't criticism that I particularly had.
Yeah, sure.
But, yeah, like, I was so excited playing through the stuff, so I think you're...
I know, I'm really up for it. I never fell out of love with it, I just stopped playing. I just sort of felt like, I'm done with this for now. But I've always got a lot of time for that game. The problem is, though, actually, I literally do not have a lot of time for that game because I've continued to be playing Monster Hunter 4, and I'm now obsessively hunting Xenogres for a Xenoga Jasper, so I can make some stuff.
Just finished Seregios kit, and it's the greatest armor.
Oh, high rank?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I was thinking about getting some of that.
Oh my god.
Because
that game is the best thing ever.
I killed a Seregios, and then I got myself, like, and it was really hard the first time, but I've got better stuff. And I went back and I was like, these guys are actually quite easy now.
Oh, yeah, their movesets, like, Zinogre, to me, is the hardest. Like, I got killed by one on the way here, and I closed my 3DS with a Fury reserved only.
The thing about them is sometimes they're easy, and other times they just destroy you.
It's catching them before they do that supercharge.
It is stopping them from supercharging. Honestly, I cannot get over it. I know I've talked about Monster Hunter 4 a lot on this podcast, but I just cannot get over how much of a staying power it has in terms of the fact that I keep... Every now and then I don't play it for like a week, and then I think, maybe I've lost the bug. And I open it up, and I kind of think, can I be bothered playing this anymore? And then I just get into it.
4 hours.
Yeah.
I just get into it. And most games like that, I just go back in, and then one day I just go, nah. And it happened to me in Monster Hunter 3. I couldn't be arsed anymore. And I must be about 140 hours in now.
Yeah, I'm 170 on this.
And it's just very, very good. It has started to get a bit grindy at times, but
this G-Rank soon. I'm so close to G-Rank, and then apparently it's a new game. I'm dead.
It's mad. I love the fact that it starts introducing new mechanics. Like Seregios is basically his dragon. He can make you bleed. And suddenly it's like...
Nothing else can make you bleed.
You've played the game for 100 hours, and then suddenly it goes, oh yeah, here's a new mechanic, bleeding.
I can't be starting this game. Like, I've had enough problems this week, so I started playing Regency Solitaire, and that's just... it's a casual game, but it's casual in the sense that I've got madly obsessed with it. I keep tweeting belligerent things at Adam because he's slightly further behind me in like the ballrooms of Bath and Brighton, and I have sort of lost entire evenings to it. I sort of didn't play Destiny for a while because I was so excited about laying my cards down alone in Regency.
It's just weird. Like all of the games I love at the moment are these sorts of things. Like I love Monster Hunter, I love Destiny, I love all these massive time sink games. I don't know what it is though. It's like the types of games I really like are all huge time sinks. I still haven't finished Bloodborne, although it's continuing to get really interesting and just going all weird and bendy and strange.
I will buy that at some point.
It's very
it's
good.
One of those things.
I don't think I've finished a game that I wasn't reviewing in a very long time.
No, I think...
like especially an RPG. That's been like a year or so that I've done anything.
Yeah, I did finish Monster Hunter.
Yeah, I did. I did Dragon Age, but that was over Christmas.
I must be close to finishing Dota, right?
You must be. You must be, right?
Those ancients have been defended so well.
Sooner or later, they'll just go, that's
middlingly well.
Okay, let's have some questions. Artrex Denter asks, if you had one game world that you had a Narnia-style portal to, what would it be?
Dynasty Warriors, I'd fit right in. That's it.
You need to charm first.
Well, yeah, I need the chime.
Everyone would know that you were like some interloper if you turn up without a chime.
Is that a diegetic chime? There's a guy off screen just going every time you go in.
He's like, who are you? Don't recognise you.
No. Dressed weird, dude. And why haven't you got all the tassels and capes that we have?
Oh, I've had an idea. I'll talk to you about this afterwards.
Okay.
Anyway, it's not a sex thing.
What?
Sorry.
Are you sure? It's sounding remarkably like
I had the idea before he said tassels. You're just going to have to believe me on that one. What would you go into?
I've been thinking that in real life I would love to explore some of the Destiny caves. Less fond of the mobs that would spawn and kill me almost instantly.
Yeah, I think those things would be really frightening in real life, wouldn't they? Trolls.
But the crystal caves and like some of the weird lush plant life on Venus and like some of the sort of weird sort of sulfur pools and things. Like I would really like to go have a look around. It does
have that exact same thing that Halo had of like you kind of think, oh, this is really pretty, but then you don't realise quite how pretty it is until you spent literally like I
want to touch it.
I spent 360 hours in that game and like it's just those caves you end up going through them, but then every now and then you stop and go, this is lovely.
Do you know what it reminds me of? Is there was an art installation called it was just a house on Harper Road, an ex-council building, and an artist called Roger Hines had filled it full of copper sulfate solution and then left it for a few months and then drained it out, and all of the rooms just had these massive copper sulfate crystals growing out of them, like blue crystals and, sort of jagged edges, and it looked so foreign and weird and alien, and you could just like trample through it, and like there was a bathtub that had been left in there and was just like caked in crystals, and so it was just kind of like I kind of would like to go back to that house.
What's the name of that artist again?
It's Roger Hines.
Roger Hines.
It's spelled Hiorns, I think. So
perfect.
he was nominated for the Turner Prize
I haven't seen photos of
at
that,
some
but I'm
point.
going to check that
That
out.
sounds amazing.
I've got some, on like a hard drive at home, so I
Oh,
will
brilliant.
send you some.
Yeah, go.
Pretty awesome.
I go Pokemon. Always been Pokemon for me. It's the first game I ever played where I became so... Not the obsession with it was not just like mechanical, you know. I got into the mechanical side of it later once I knew more about the numbers behind the veil.
Yeah.
But to begin with, it was just the world and just. I mean, I think a lot of people had that with Harry Potter when that came out. That idea of being like, oh, I just want to live in this world. But for me, Pokemon came first, and it was always a place where I think, wow, I'd be happy there.
There's a forgotten element to Pokemon, which is that it's like its stories are shit, but its worlds, like, there are always weird little hints to stuff that are actually quite interesting. Like the X and Y has like these 2 rooms where this same ghost walks through and says something and just leaves, and it's never resolved. It's nothing. It's just someone decided there should be a tiny ghost story that people will talk about on the internet. You're like, no one thinks about Pokemon for that. Like just this tiny bit of like a huge world, one room. You're just like, that's great. That's really nice.
I just like the idea you could just go off on an adventure and make some friends.
Having a lizard.
Have a lizard, and then you could just.
And that your mum's fine with that.
Your mum doesn't even ask you anything. That was the thing. Is a really weird thing. You go back and just be like, you haven't seen your mother for like 6 months, and she doesn't even say, "Oh, hello, dear," or anything.
All she does is go, "Here, you've rested. I'm essentially a Pokemon nurse. See ya."
Yeah, I found that very bad parenting. Chris Wallace asks, he says, I'm off interrailing soon. Have a lovely trip, Chris. He says, I hate my friends, so I need a handheld games that are good for long journeys. Time to get a Vita? I'd say no. I'd say get a 3DS first.
Get 3DS all day.
3DS is a Vita is nice, but although actually Vita does have a very good battery life, but still,
that's true.
I'd say if you can afford it, get a new 3DS because the new small size 3DSs are lovely.
Also a tablet for stuff like Banner Saga.
Yes,
Banner Saga's great, and the Sorcery series, which I had to. If you played Sorcery,
no, but I've know of it.
Amazing. It's like it's a like choose your own adventure. I can't remember if it's an actual fighting fantasy, but they've turned it into like a full game, and it's episodic as well. I had to email Inkle today about the 3rd episode because I think I ran into a glitch, and I do not want, like, I'm so invested in my character's quest being finished in the way I want it to be that I emailed Inkle and was like, please God, tell me that this is being fixed. And they said it has been, so I'm just overjoyed. I'm good. Yeah.
Speaking of Inkle, though, speaking of Inkle, given that he's travelling, also 80 days.
80 days
is Inkle, yeah.
Incredible.
It is very good.
Yeah.
That's a good shout, actually. Yeah, like getting some sort of tablet. Cool. There are lots of very good. I mean, yeah, King of Dragon Pass, I lost a huge amount.
Oh my God, I still play that every now and then.
I want to make a video about it at some point, but it's like I kind of didn't make the video when I needed to, when I was in the heat of it. But it was like it was just such an ambitious thing to make a video about because it's like it's just this you can't show it.
No,
it's just menus, which means it would be a huge amount. I still want to do it. I still want to like create something, a kind of an ode to it. It wouldn't really be a review. It'd be more like just green screen medieval bollocks.
I was going to say, just do a slideshow of all the amazing paintings in it. There are some incredible. Well, the background on my iPad is a picture from King of Dragon Pass, which is like a band beat with like a minotaur playing the drums and a load of skeletons dancing. And it's just beautiful. And there's no reason for it at all. It barely explains it.
When that stuff crops up, you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
There are skeletons in my village?
Well, it's like when we talked about it the first time on the podcast. It was like, yeah, there's a walking octopus, came and killed all my cattle. You're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, like, it really just comes out of nowhere with some like left field stuff. And you're like, I don't know, am I supposed to be terrified of this or not?
Yeah.
Like, you just don't know. Like,
it's so good.
It's a fantastic game.
Such a game.
Go back and if you want to know about that, go back and listen to some of the early episodes of Daft because I'm sure we talked about it for like an entire episode.
God, yeah.
Also, if he's off interrailing, then he should take a DS and then let us know where all the 3DS hotspots are for street passes.
Get some relay points.
I haven't been doing any of that stuff.
I street passed someone in Paddington Station the other day who clearly had 6 3DSs on them. I got 6 identical Miis. I looked them up. It turns out they're like a competitive Pokemon player and have like 8 3DSs that they carry around.
You should go hang around outside Comic-Con, outside the MCM Expo this weekend.
Yes,
just
that's
lurk
a good call.
with your DS.
Well, I've got. If you've got a 3DS on you, but my 3DS is switched off. I'll switch mine on so you can get some Street Pass because I'm Street Passing some pretty hot Monster Hunter stuff at the moment.
Oh man, good call.
I'd say Monster Hunter is a fantastic game. You've got a lot of time to kill. Monster Hunter and a 3DS.
That's it.
That's it. You'll be fine. I actually had a guy yesterday being like, "Oh yeah, I took your advice and I bought a 3DS and Monster Hunter. Like, what other games do I need?" It's like I kind of wanted to go to him. Well, now you don't need
buy
any.
anything.
So I don't understand the question.
You just need that forever.
I genuinely think if I wasn't like playing games all the time, like Monster Hunter is all I would have needed for like at least the first 6 months of this year. Like it's just the best. I know we keep going back to it.
It really is something.
Holy shit!
At some point, I think we'll probably try and make a video about it. Whether it will probably require me to borrow some captures, give it to me. But it's really something. Yeah. It's really something. Anyway, so get a 3DS. Just get a 3DS. Get on the train. Akko asks favourite video game fact. You've got one for us, Joe.
Yeah. So the original Tony Hawk's Pro Skater originally used the models from the game Apocalypse with Bruce Willis. So the first ever version of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater featured Bruce Willis on a skateboard. That's my video game fact.
That is incredible.
Yeah, I was really happy about that. It's another old man skating around in Tony Hawk's. Who would have known?
That's genuinely brilliant. I like that a lot.
It feels like the premise for a terrible movie now, though.
Oh, skateboarding Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I think the game Apocalypse was already a premise for a terrible Bruce Willis movie.
I think that's like an alternate reality where Bruce Willis's career really went down the pan quickly.
Yeah.
And it became like Skateboard Cop, one of his last films. Skateboard Cop 2, straight to video. No,
he did do a film where he was the internal monologue of a baby, to be fair, so he's had some questionable choices.
He probably had to pay the IRS. Ben Monroe asks, there's a question about tabletop/board games. I'm an avid PC gamer and like to get in some tabletop/board games. What do you recommend? I recommend you go and look at shutupandsitdown.com. I get this question a lot on this podcast. Every week people saying, recommend me board games. It's like, well, yes, but I work on a website that specifically does that. So you should just look at that website.
And they have a podcast.
And we do a podcast. And the videos are all really entertaining and often very weird and funny. So just go and get involved. And sooner or later you'll see something and go, that sounds amazing. I need that. And then well done. You've just entered the world of board games.
And sometimes me and Brendan pop up as well.
Absolutely.
Just
yeah.
wave.
Yeah. We had Pit playing.
Cyclades was brilliant. I remembered I really liked that.
Cyclades is really good. Cosmic Encounter. We had you being an alien in Cosmic Encounter with bobbly things.
Yeah, married everyone.
I had the weirdest thing. One of the weirdest
Married the
things.
shit out of everyone. Divorced you.
You did. You divorced me. It was brutal. I saw that coming a mile off. I think you married me just so you could divorce me immediately.
Yes, so I could take half your things.
Yep, just so you can take the dowry back.
Yep.
Cosmic Encounter is a great game. I'd recommend it. But yeah, it's been weird. Yeah, Peter Olotka add me as a Facebook friend. He's the creator of Cosmic Encounter.
That's impressive.
I sort of thought, it's weird world. It was that and being negatively called out in a tepid rap song. 2015 has been a weird one. Matt Redman asks, do you prefer playing a wide variety of games or focusing on getting really good at one specific game?
We're sort of forced to do wide variety of games by one-off job. But, well, that's the thing. I've never been a get really good at one specific game person until Monster Hunter. Which we might have talked about. It's... I like, for some reason, that's the first game where I've been like, right, I'm diving in.
It used to be easier to be like wide whilst also focusing on one game. But now I find that so hard because there's so many games coming out that you need to focus on. And I find that really difficult.
Yeah, they're so demanding when it comes to the time that you need to actually sort of get a significant way through it or, get to sort of the kernel of the experience, I guess. But because I remember, used to sort of play things for, 8 hours or whatever, and then that was, and you were on to the next thing. And whereas with the things that you played again and again and again, they were maybe multiplayer things, or they were, things that you wanted to complete more and more times. Like I've completed Ocarina of Time like so many times, and that was, an obsessive kind of yearly thing that I would do. But now I sort of...
They've become less finite, haven't they?
Yeah. Because the thing is, I really want to finish Pillars of Eternity, but that's possibly not going to happen anytime this year.
I just want to play it again. Like, I played it for about 5 hours and I loved it.
Yeah.
But now, like, I've got so many other things. I'm like,
it's all just piling up, It
is.
Just like, and then with the work that I do, I focus a lot on League of Legends and Dota. Those games aren't ending anytime soon.
This is what I find interesting is it used to be that you had like your big games, right? But all games were kind of finite in a way. But the big games were just things like, they were great when we were kids because there weren't as many really good games. And those games represented
like Pokemon, or maybe something like repetitive like Tetris.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did
So you
a lot
have
of
like those repetitive things that you just play tons. You have the really big adventure games that be like you're going to play for 200 hours, but then you'll be done. Or like, Final Fantasies where it's like, 80 hours and you're done. Whereas now, I think we've got way more inventive at like the number of ways that games can last forever. So you have like, you still have your endless puzzlers like Tetris and the like, but then you also have like roguelikes, which are a great new way of having games that you just play indefinitely. And then having like MOBAs, which you just don't stop playing ever. And they're all really good. But it's like, it's the difficulty of, for what we're supposed to do, we're supposed to be dipping in.
It's weird, the kind of games that I don't play obsessively anymore. Like, so Time Splitters 2, I played for, I guess, like probably years with my friends. But I haven't obsessed over a shooter in the same way ever since, because there are so many shooters that you just skip from one to the next. There's never that sense of like, this is a thing we always play when we get together. It's kind of strange how that disappears.
Well, I think that's why,
but that's maybe just adulthood.
I think that's why a lot of people got, like, most journalists are now out of touch with stuff like Call of Duty, because you dip in, you do the campaign, you dabble around in multiplayer and find out why it's different, and then you do it right up, and then that's it. But then you forget that it's not how people play them. People play them year round. I mean, less so now. It is diminishing slowly, but it's still a big audience of people. And it's just impossible to keep up with. It is weird. It's this difficult thing of being like, I was thinking today, it's like, I love recording this, and I love the fact that I can get people in. But if I wasn't having this circulating cast of people coming in each week and just talking about stuff that they've played, I'd be screwed. Because like, I can't play games in the way I used to, of just constantly trying things for half an hour. You just can't do it. There's too many things. And it gets in the way with actually what you want to do. I want to play Monster Hunter. But I can't talk about Monster Hunter every week.
No, that would be sad.
Or can I?
You just need, like, quite an easy Monster Hunter related pun, and we'll make a second podcast. Daft Souls and
spin-off.
Daft Souls Part 2. I don't know. More podcasts in my life is not what I need. I'm going to have to wrap this up, because actually I'm guesting on Bonfire Side Chat, I think that's what it's called.
To talk about
Bloodborne.
Dark Souls and Bloodborne.
In 5 minutes.
Interesting.
Yeah,
so,
we should get out of your hair. Literally.
It's fine, we just overran a bit more than good. So, anything, obviously, Pip of RPS, but anything else you'd like to mention?
No, but I can always come back and do more things. We didn't talk about Sunset, so we can definitely do that another time.
Absolutely, no, you're definitely on again. But Joe?
Could you please all read my things on Official Xbox Magazine and on Games Radar, the weird mini website that I run these days, because it's hilarious. I write all sorts of fun things.
He does.
Great.
And if you really like Joe's voice, he's also on Chat Very Good.
I am. Thanks for plugging my podcast that I'd forgotten about.
That's fine.
that was poor work.
I still haven't really had a chance to listen to it properly, because it's a very long podcast.
It's fucking enormous.
But I know that lots of people, when they hear very long podcast, go, ooh!
Some people like that.
They like that.
Yeah.
I don't have time.
Also, if anyone listening has any really good gifs of otters, send them to @PhilippaWar on Twitter. That would just be nice.
That's a serious request.
Yeah.
I know it to be true.
Yeah.
Hashtag journal request.
As it's a once. Anyway, thank you very much for joining us. I'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.